and welcome to yet another episode of The World According to Gwen. I sincerely hope that this finds you well. Uh, Yesterday, oh my god, yesterday I made, I don't know, 4 or 5 videos because I was like, I got to get this out of me. I'm starting to crack a little bit, I got to get it out. And, and that last one, that poor child, I'm telling you what, did you see her? She was almost crying at the end. But anyways, yeah, that's terrible. But as it went, could not sleep last night. I think I was up till 1:30. I ended up sending a bunch of messages over to the person I've been referring to as the mate. I think I might be on the cusp of changing that now. And help me out. Put in some comments of what should I call him now? If he's not my mate, what should I call him now? Since I can't call him by name, you know, because of privacy and that kind of stuff. Unless later he comes out and wants to get on with this particular part of things. So can't sleep at all, and I'm like, damn, that really sucks. And I did. I sent messages over, boo hiss, and I did. I meant what I said because I got this feeling like he's going to see this one. He's going to be, so you just sent those messages? No, I meant every single word that I said, and I do still mean what I said, which is private for right now. But go to work in the hospital all day long. It's a horrible day on the floor. And what it kept making me think about, remember in the very beginning I was telling you I'm a student of the law of attraction. Like attracts like. Well, you know what? Hey, let's be for real. My vibe lately has been pretty screwed up. And this whole relationship turmoil stuff really exacerbated it bad. And in fact, I'll just go. Well, we're not going to go there. Just going to say there's a certain momentum that gets going. You don't feel good. You don't feel good. That's really what it all comes down to. If you just don't feel good, and I obviously have not been feeling good, and in light of all of this going on. And so everything that's happening in my life just gives it back to me hey, you don't feel good, here's some more. You don't feel good, here's some more. And that's that momentum that gets going with the law of attraction. So there was that. But everybody survived at work. I survived at work. It's good. But I got off work, and there were a couple of times I so badly wanted to send a text message to the mate. I hate this, because what it used to be was man, I got to get off work because he's going to want to talk to me, and I got to call him, and we're going to talk, and we're going to figure out how the day's going, and we want to be together and want to talk together and all this kind of stuff. And now I go and I get off work and poof, it's not there. And it's but honestly, really not it's more I hate this. And that has been one of the hardest things about this experience, has been that he, I know how, I've been married to me for a long time, and not being in a relationship like what I've been talking about in another intimate relationship with somebody individually. I know myself. I know the good, the bad, the ugly. I know how ferocious and vicious and hateful and angry. I know all those things inside of me. Now, do I like them? Not necessarily. Do I know them? Yes. Are there times that it's appropriate to use them? Well, of course there are. It's just not very often, almost never. But then once she has been triggered, Jesus, she's hard to have to live with. I'm telling you, for real, she is. And so this man, this mate, there were times he'd just look at me. He's like, I see you inside there. I know how ugly it is in there. And I was like, oh my God, like, I don't want to have to bring her out. I don't, you know, but I also, part of being my whole person, don't want to really cut her off either. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I can really totally get rid of her. I hope you know what I mean, right? There's a, yeah, I just don't want to let her drive my boat though either. So, leaving work, I hate this, it's terrible, and it's just like really in my face how much he's not paying any attention to me. And I I call one friend who has been like a man. I've been blessed to have men that were friends and that we've never crossed those boundaries. Um, and and I thank them really very much for being in my life. And anyways, this the friend I called, he wasn't available. And I was like, yeah, and that's just the way he always has been, not available. And I'm driving along. I tried to stop and make a little video on the river because I was like, hey, that might be nicer to look at than the light blue wall behind me. But I couldn't get that all worked out right because, again, I still had that momentum of like, everything sucks, everything sucks. And so I drive and I drive. And I called a truly very dear friend of mine. And we met speed dating. And if you have never been speed dating, trust me when I tell you, you want to go speed dating. And maybe that's what I need to find out about doing soon. So, speed dating is tons of fun. But he and I, we've been friends since then, which is going on, I think it's about 10 years now. And and I talked with him a couple of months ago. I told him, it's like, hey, I met this guy. I'm pretty sure I'm going to marry him. Like, everything's fabulous, blah, blah, blah. And I haven't talked to him anymore. When we used to talk probably once every couple of weeks or so. And I hadn't heard from him at all over the last couple of months. And I was like, oh, God, I got to call him. And so I call, and he's, hey, how are you? How's things? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, listen, I'm just going to be like, straight up tell you the low down and dirty, like, I am a girl who needs some attention right now. This has happened, that's happened, blah 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 blah. Do you mind, can you talk with me for a couple of minutes? And so we talk and we catch up, and he's had some crazy people in his life before, girlfriend wise type of thing, and I'm telling him little bits of some of the stuff that went on. And he, I don't know, I just let him start talking, and he's talking and talking and talking. And the next thing I know, I have this like permanent case of permagrin on my face, because you know what he says to me is, he's like, well, you know, we've talked about this kind of stuff before, and it's actually what my dad said to me when I was getting myself wrapped up with this crazy woman at one time. It was like, well, hey, listen, you know what? You're doing it to yourself. And if you keep doing it, I'm not going to feel sorry for you. And something about that was just that, like, bam, because you remember at the very, very beginning, the first relationships are sacred ground, that it's law of attraction, and who controls your life, and yeah, right. So, are you picking up what I'm throwing down? Am I saying enough about this? I don't know. Maybe not. But if we get what we think about, the truth is the truth, whether we want to admit it or not. And it wasn't that I was thinking that I wanted my mate to go away and go sleep with that former girlfriend. Like, give me a break. I'm not crazy, or I'm not insane. I am crazy. I like to do bold things sometimes. I'm also very, like, calm and grounded and what would my sister say? Institutionally kind of oriented sometimes. And by that I mean social institutions. Like, I don't usually break the law outside of speeding. In fact, I'm pretty sure I don't break any other laws outside of speeding. Sometimes I might think about it on taxes, but even then I don't usually do it. And so just respectful that way. Like if it says, sign, do not pass, do not cross here, then like I'm probably not gonna do it just because there's a reason it says that. It, back to it. No deflecting. Thank you, sir. Um, get what you think about. So by the time my friend, my speed dating friend that I talked with, I don't know, talked with him for 20, 30 minutes, and really more, he talked to me, and all I could do was kind of laugh inside because he was just giving me right back to me, like, you know these things. We've all done it before. You have hard times, there's stages of grief, and yeah, you cry and you're all messed up and your head's all screwed up. And then we got to talking about the narcissist kind of stuff, because that's some of the stuff that really went down at the very end of all this. Was that my mate? I had never said it. I'm just going to say this is part of that mind thing. Ding, ding, ding. As time is going on with him, I was like, I don't know very much about narcissists. I've heard the term, but I don't really know a whole lot about it. But I'm kind of thinking maybe this guy is a narcissist. And because my daughter had told me that she felt like he was trying to gaslight her while she was taking him to the airport. And that whole gaslighting, as far as I'm concerned, gaslighting is pushing somebody's buttons. That's the old school term for it. Wind them up and see what you get. Anyways, so my friend, no, sorry, my mate, towards the end of all of this, I'm thinking, like, maybe this dude is a narcissist, and I just didn't know, because this is crazy. Like, it's not that he's crazy, just this whole dynamic thing that we're going through is like, this is kind of, it's not so much as weird, it was just, well, like that, right? Like I have a hard time even finding the words for it. And then I'm thinking that, right? I'm thinking maybe this guy is a narcissist. And then like a few days, a week later, he's telling me in a text message, I'm pretty sure you're a narcissist. And I was like, well, I'll be damned. Like, that is really funny, because that's exactly what I was thinking about you. And but then he was like punching it hardcore, like he'd been researching it and looking up different things, and would send me videos about narcissism and these different things that go down. And I was like, whoa, like, and to the point that he wanted me to go and be diagnosed by somebody, and for narcissism and borderline personality disorder. Can you believe it? So, and actually, if you don't know me, you've just been listening along here and there, or maybe you're just listening for the first time, you're like, well, actually, yeah, maybe I could believe it, and whatever. So, as it turned out, towards the very end of things, I did speak with his counselor, therapist, psychologist, whatever she is exactly, licensed clinical social worker, licensed clinical mental health counselor. And she talked with me for an hour, asked me a bunch of questions, and she said, well, I'm pretty sure by the end of this conversation together that you don't have any narcissistic qualities out of balance. And the purpose for that being because everybody's got some narcissistic qualities. We all do. It's just, is it like super overriding everything else in your life, or is it, just kind of like a thing that comes out every now and again? And so that was what she had said. And talking to my friend while I'm driving home. And I mentioned this narcissist word to him, and he's like, well, that's really funny you say that. He goes, because I was thinking it, but I didn't really want to say it, but you did. He goes, and that's what it kind of sounded like, because I've dated a few narcissists, and he goes, and it messes you up in the head. It just messes up everything. And so, and I'm sure that some people listening might have way more clinical, academic, professional experience in these phases that I'm going through right now. And they're like, oh, well, it was good for her to talk to the friend because he gave her some validation or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me because I really do lean more on the, it's in the heart between people. You know, those relationships between the heart. For crying out loud, the name of this whole playlist is Relationships Are Sacred Ground. And not on the clinical, academic, the heady, analytic part of things. But remind me to talk about stages of grief and talking with my friend who's an engineer, and he goes, well, you know, from what you've told me, he goes, and I'm just getting 30-second data bites. He says, it sounds like the math doesn't add up. And did I tell you already how much I really do love math? Because numbers don't lie. 1 + 1 = 2. Like, this is plain and simple. There's no, that's just it. And these are functions of the mind, not the imagination. Imagination is not the mind, but functions of the mind to be able to logically and analytically put things together. But then when there's that clash on the other side of the brain, that's when you hit this place that I've been in over the last month, especially week, where you're like, I feel like I'm losing my mind, I'm going crazy, and what the hell am I gonna do? Like, I'm losing it, and it just messes you all up. And so this particular video I really want to dedicate to my speed dating friend that I won't name here right now, because I don't know if he would want me to do that or not. But I want you to know that, like, baby, I love you, and thank you sincerely for being my good friend for however long it's been. I think it's been about 10 years. Almost, maybe. And thank you for giving me pieces of me back. Over our 10 years, when he called me like, oh my God, I was dating this girl, it got crazy, whatever, I was like, hey, what are you doing? You know this, you know that, you know the other. And one of the places where we meet like that is that don't drink, don't smoke, don't toke, don't coke, don't do all that kind of stuff. And in the dating world, like, let me tell you what, I don't think there's a whole lot of people that I haven't found very many. Maybe that's because I'm in Florida. But yeah, most everybody's still hooked or jacked on something. Anyhow, so what I also want to say, stages of grief. My daughter Caroline, when we first made the videos it's been a week now, you know, before I sat to make the first one, which was something I had been wanting to do for a good while. I've been wanting to make my website, The World According to Gwen, for a long time, and just couldn't seem to get the impetus to get it going. And then all this happens, and as you know, I've mentioned it, the mate and we talked about making a thing together. I needed to go to bed, I needed to go to sleep, I need to work in the hospital the next couple of days, feel like I'm a better nurse if I'm well rested. And but I couldn't. I was like, just that shock, kind of deer in the headlights, like, oh my God, my whole world is like, poof, flipped apart. How am I going to go to sleep? Like, I can't go to sleep. So I went and we had some whiskey in the house. Been there for a long time, and I got a couple of shots of that. One big one is really more like 1.5, not really 2. And I hadn't eaten anything for a couple of days because I'd been all twisted and upside down. And I kicked that baby back, and I was like, oh God, like, no wonder alcoholics get esophagitis, because that shit's brutal. It just burns your throat. Anyways, but it chilled out all this part, right? And I remember I looked at my daughter after couple minutes, and I was like, and that is why I don't drink. And then I sat down and I made those first 2 videos, and I can remember, because it let me loosen up, some of the tension that I was just feeling in the cranium. And why am I telling you this? My daughter had been telling me, because prior to that, I was a crying, disastrous wreck you can imagine. And she told me then, she was like, Mom, you've been, boo-hooey over all of this for a few days. She's like, I think it's time for you to get mad. And I was like, I'm not gonna get mad. Oh my God. So, but talking with my friend tonight, driving home, stages of grief. First is denial, and then there's like anger and bargaining, and there's all these different, I think there's like 6, I don't remember. I don't really care, to tell the truth. But maybe this past week, I don't know, maybe I've been through a certain amount of denial about things. And then maybe this was, I was talking to I told him about, Caroline telling me it's time for you to get mad. And I don't know, maybe this week I'm going to get mad. And that kind of Gwen will kind of come back around and be like, well, I'm trying to not drop too many bad words while I make these videos. But having somebody come and just tell me straight up, well, you're doing this to yourself. And because me has been kind of beating up on me, especially yesterday, on the like, well, you did this to yourself, We were telling you, we, meaning Source itself, was telling you all along, like, there's a thing here, and I knew there was a thing here. And full transparency, because my friend had mentioned it. He's like, you just know it's not going to work. And I was like, yeah, but that's not really me. Me is not that just says, oh, it's not going to work. Me is the one who says, well, hey, this is not working, and we need to figure out how we're going to make it work. And that's where my mate and I, that was like what really put it to cruxes, was like, we got to figure out, we got to actually like do something to make this work. If we want it. And clearly right now, he doesn't. Yeah, little checkpoint there, huh? I don't know. Maybe this week I'll be angry about things. And but what I really think is more what it is when you get your mind back, when you can think again, and you have your logical capabilities as well, which I've been semi without off and on over this past week. It just kind of, it truly does increase your power. And that was another thing we talked about, was power and control. And I gotta get on some things about power and control. If you're in a relationship and you feel like somebody is overpowering you or controlling you, or you're having a hard time accepting your own power, you should leave me a comment, send me an email, and hey, I promise we will have a real chat. It's taken me a long time to learn how to receive and accept my own self-empowerment. For up until my son's dad, I was the one who would just like sweep things under the rug, didn't want to talk about it. I would diminish my hara, that fire in the belly. And when it came to the confrontation in relationship, and didn't want to have to confront the troubles, didn't want to have to confront the problems. I just didn't want to do it. And it's not that I'm like some super confrontational person now, which was what I felt like my mate was doing. Like he was always just trying to confront everything. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, dude, we need to spend some time just like loving and enjoying, not, which we did. Let me clarify. I'm like I said, I'm not totally insane. I wouldn't spend all my time with somebody who was trying to beat me up. There was plenty of loving. Plenty of loving. Like, you gotta catch myself sometimes, if I start going in one direction or another. But also would feel those control dynamics and power struggles come into play, and I don't necessarily want to easily yield, simply because I was going to say I didn't feel safe in the relationship, didn't completely trust in what he would do with what I just didn't completely trust with what he would do. Maybe I didn't completely trust him. And even as or maybe, and then if I was going to really turn that around, I'd say, well, maybe I really didn't trust myself. And I got to find some kind of somebody who can help me out with that, on where to draw these lines on projection. And honestly, I'm thinking about be here now, and it's not about drawing a line on projection and this is mine and this is yours, which I guess is really more like healthy boundaries, but what is beyond that, and what's beyond me and you. And that's why I love that man so much, because glimpses, glimmers, pieces, time of spending time in that, what's beyond, me and you, where me and you merge and come together and join and unite. Yoga. So, wow, that totally did not go like I thought it was going to, but this is the process. Thanks for listening. Be nice to the nurses out there, especially if you can tell she's already having a bad day. And I promise at least 2 or 3 playlists about nursing and medicine and the medical community. That's really a big deal, and I'm sure it's something that everybody can benefit from. And I think I might just do a couple of more of these on that mate, and then thank you for your time. I will start stepping forward on different types of relationships. And this one particular video is one that I want to entitle that Friendships Are Sacred Ground. And thanks so much, my speed dating friend. Thank you for being my friend who knows me, and at least as much as you can, and didn't mind just telling me straight, get your head together. Anyways, Om Shanti Namaste. God bless us all, and really, I hope I get some sleep tonight too. I think it would probably do me a lot of good. I even ate dinner. I ate more. Not more. I mean, I ate Caesar salad, and 2 hands full of Caesar salad, where I haven't even been eating a handful of anything for days now. But I wanted to fast. I wanted to process this. I didn't want to just eat it and shove it down. Wanted to be with it. And honestly, my stomach hurts now. Anyways, okay, that's enough. Thank you much. God bless you so good. And I'll see you again soon. Well, how did I get here?